What's up, guys and gals? Ming the Merciless 93 back with another video for PokerVIP.com, and we got something a little bit special for you today. Today we are sweating a Poker VIP forum member on, what is this site? Ultima Poker. Look, I was looking at it and I was like, man, this is fancy looking. You guys might want to check this site out, and if you do want to check this site out, there will be a link in the description of this video. But apparently it is going to be a soft site with good games and a sick rakeback structure. A lot of benefits and bonuses and all kinds of delicious things. A lot of good reasons to be playing on Ultima Poker during the holiday season. So let's just go ahead and jump on in here, review some of the play that we got going on in this video, and see what's up. Because I'm always game for a fresh, awesome poker site to be playing on. It looks like they have their own slick software. I like the cards that I'm seeing so far. Looks pretty nice. And, you know, you can't really complain about having a grumpy cat avatar like on table one. So let's see what we're working with here. Playing a little bit of that 5 cent, 10 cent, no limit Texas Hold'em. Queen 6 offsuit's going to be a folding combination. We got tables 1, 2, 3, and 4. Top left to right, bottom left to right. We have Jack 8 on the button. Definitely going to be raising this combo. Going to be going 3x here. We min raise, which is perfectly fine if your opponents are folding a lot, but the more that your opponents are defending correctly or they seem to be never folding to your min raise, then I would definitely change my strategy and use a bigger raise size to kind of dissuade them from calling correctly. So unless they're just playing very poorly post-flop in a min raise pot, like if they play as if it were a 3x pot, then it's not so bad. We do have Jack Deuce over here. Looks like we've made a boat on the river. Sorry, I'm trying to get a good feel for where the cards are because the seats aren't all, you know, on the bottom. So that's okay. So I see we have King 10 on the button. So let's go ahead and raise it up with King 10. Definitely going to be the case. We fold the 3-4 offsuit on table 1. That's good. Folding Jack 8 offsuit. We're in there with our King 10 offsuit though. Looks like we are going to see a flop down there with the Ace Jack Ace. I'd like to see a continuation bet here of right around 20 to 40 cents, somewhere around there. It's against a small blind, so they should have a slightly tighter range. But you know, anything that's 20 to 40 cents is a perfectly reasonable c-bet sizing. You don't have to c-bet super big. You don't have to c-bet super small. And we're going to go ahead and raise it up with our Queen Jack of Diamonds if we get the chance. If this guy raises, he'll probably just put a 3-bet in. He makes it 38 cents to go. I would like to see a raise here to about 130, 140, something like that. You know, generally, flat calling here is not a mistake either, but he made it almost 4x. I guess the thing about it here is that his stack size is only half, which is kind of limiting. I still think I'm fine just making it 140. If the players in these games are only really going to be calling or folding and they're not going to be going bananas with, let's say, you know, shoving pocket fives or something, then we're okay going ahead and 3-betting it. Just we win the pot now, and if he does call, we have initiative post-flop. We also don't pay rake if we just win the pot pre-flop, and we shut the other players out from being able to both flat call, realize equity, and then also 3-bet. So there's a good reason for us to not do any of those things when it comes to flat calling. I'd much rather just go ahead and 3-bet. So we go ahead and flat call. He checks to us. Our bet sizing here is good, 55 cents. Makes perfect sense. We've got a gut with our 7-9 on table 1. We have a gut shot. We're going to go ahead and continuation bet. Win that pot pretty easily. 8-9 offsuit on table 2. Yeah, the only thing that's going to be a little bit difficult here is to follow the cards, so make sure that you guys pay attention. Table 3, down here on the bottom left, we have King Queen offsuit. We're going to go ahead and fold 8-9 on table 2, and we are going to raise with King 4 suited. And you can go either way with this hand. It could be a raise, it could be a fold. Either is perfectly reasonable with King 4 suited. From the cutoff, that is. We do flop a king. This hand could definitely use some protection, as it's relatively easy to outdraw us on this board texture with a 3-way. It's a 3-way pot. You have straight draws, you have flush draws, and I like the bigger bet sizing that we're using here. So I like to play with the King 4. Hopefully we just take it down or we get it heads up. Either of those things would be a fair result for us that we would be happy with. Looks like we're going to raise it up with Ace Jack of Clubs. We get raised and then all in from player on the button, so we'll just go ahead and get out of the way there. Queen 6 offsuit is going to be a mixed strategy. You can definitely raise it against tighter blinds, but folding that hand is certainly fine as well. We have 8-4 in the big blind on table 2. And we can do either or with the king 6 offsuit on table 4. We can either defend the big blind or we can fold it, depending on what we think of our opponents. If they're very tight, we can just pass on the spot. If they play poorly post flop, we can still defend. If they use a smaller bet size, we can defend. So we're basically just going to have a mixed strategy with king 6. I probably would elect to call, but folding it is certainly reasonable as well. And 4-6 offsuit, we could limp there. We're getting 5-1. I don't hate a limp, but I also don't hate a fold. I think either is fine. As long as you're not raising in that spot, you're perfectly fine doing whichever. I would probably go ahead and limp just because it does make straights. And, it could be relatively aggressive in limped pots. I don't know what that guy's button limping strategy is going to be like or how many combos he's going to have. But in general, we are limping the king 9 offsuit on table 1. And I think we can defend 8-4 in the big blind versus the min raise. But again, it's not something that you have to do. It's not a necessity. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like this site has got a really good rake back structure with all kinds of like a rake race benefits, bonuses. Let me check this out a little bit here. 100% rake back. That's right. You can get 100% rake back on this site. They have a rake back and returns, like basically, like the Poker Stars setup. So you have how much rake that you rake in a month, and then the next month you have whatever tier you hit for that rake. So it looks like beginner is up to $20. So if you hit $0 to $19 in rake, you're going to get 10% rake back the following month. Advanced $20 to $199. Professional $200 to $799. I mean, it sounds like it wouldn't be that difficult to hit to get that amount. I mean, some of these are pretty big, but it looks like that it wouldn't be that difficult to hit 25% rake back very quickly, and probably 30% rake back pretty quickly as well. So it seems pretty good. I don't know exactly what the traffic's like, but if it's a newer site, they got some traffic on there. Maybe you want to jump up in there and check it out. There's a link both to the forum thread about the site and the site itself down below. So make sure you check that out. We got pocket kings over here on table 4. Pocket 10s on table 2. We're just going to flat call in the big blind. No use in 3-betting versus the under the gun player. We have a set, but it's a relatively suspect board. That our opponent has a full 16 combinations of ace queen, and then he has some suited straights here as well, perhaps queen 9 suited, and he also has a bunch of jacks and kings. So there's like 25 combos here or more that are going to be beating us, depending on how many queen 9 suiteds he has. But that doesn't mean we're going to get away from a set. We're just kind of screwed when he has a better combo. And it looks like our set is actually going to be good here. So our opponent probably had ace king, which is one of the hands that you do beat in that spot. And honestly, if I'm ace king, I'm not really going to be playing a big pot in that situation just because the player in the big blind is going to have so many combos. They're relatively uncapped as well. They don't have pocket kings, but they definitely have pocket 10s, pocket jacks, and a full 16 ace queens, as those hands don't often get 3-bet. And they have every one of the queen 9s, and they probably have queen 9 offsuit as well. So when you add another 16 queen 9s to those ace queens, the player in the big blind ends up having a lot of very strong hands, and the only one their range is really missing out on is going to be something like ace king, kings, and aces, of course. But that's made up for by all the extra straights that they can have from the big blind. And they have tons of 2-pair combos. They have more 2-pair combos than the guy under the gun just because of the suitedness that the under the gun is going to require to play those combos, and the guy in the big blind just gets to flat with all of them. It's pretty cool. Little we got bonuses, bonus history, get bonuses, get no bonus. I want to get a deposit as bonus. I like checking that stuff out. Looks like they got a pretty nice interface here, and I like the software, I got to tell you. I like the software. Looks kind of smooth, kind of snappy. We got 4-8 suited, and I'm fine 3-betting or flat calling with this combination. I would 3-bet here quite a bit on table 1. We could certainly raise or fold with our king 10 in the hijack, kind of depending on how the players are playing behind us. We fold our 8-9 on table 4. I'm certainly fine with that. Looks like we are defending in position, and I would go ahead and bet this hand since we're protecting our 4's equity on table 1, and we are also going to just win the pot quite a bit when they're check folding on a board texture that hits us very well. Obviously, your opponent can have a check calling range of hands that beats the little 4 that we have there, but that's okay. You're going to still win that pot quite often, and it's certainly going to be a better play than checking back. Now we have pocket 4s. We're going to take it down with our king 10 on table 2. Going to fold ace 3 offsuit on table 2. I think we just 3-bet here, so I like to see a 3-bet with our pocket fours. I would 3-bet slightly bigger. Again, when you're out of position, you want to 3-bet a bit bigger to dissuade them from flat calling. In this day and age, players are a bit more comfortable playing in 3-bet pots, and they're a bit more comfortable with what sort of a range that they should use versus a certain 3-bet sizing. So the smaller your 3-bet, the more often you're going to get called by your opponent. The bigger your 3-bet, the difficulty level for them raises, and that they're not familiar with the range that they're going to continue with versus your bet sizing, because they're used to getting a better price, or they're used to getting the price that they normally get from regs. So you can see in higher stakes games, players have skewed their 3-bet sizing pre-flop sometimes to 4.5 and even 5x in some cases, and squeeze plays can get up to 6x and sometimes even 6.5, 7x. So just making it slightly bigger pre-flop is going to decrease the frequency at which your opponent is going to call. And yes, it decreases the price that you're getting on your pre-flop bluff, but that is being made up for because you are almost, I wouldn't say always, but very frequently you are clipping off a higher percentage of their range than the price deficit that you're losing a bit more of the price that you're getting, but you're getting a much higher percentage of their hands to fold. And it is a little bit difficult to play against that bigger raise because it's so hard to play when you don't have initiative. If the guy that has initiative gets the right away for betting post-flop, the other guy's in pretty rough shape. Looks like we are going to go ahead and overbet bluff on table 2 with our Jack-9 against a capped range. Not super unhappy with that. I think that's relatively reasonable. We have a blocker to 8-9. Pretty difficult for our opponent to have anything that's better than our hand that really wants to call there as far as a big bet goes. So I don't mind overbetting. I think that's good. We have pocket 3s on table 2, queen 10 offsuit on table 1. We're going to fold queen 4 offsuit on table 4. I'm good with that. We go ahead and 3-bet here with our pocket 3s. Again, I would make that slightly bigger. At least make it 125, 130, something like that. Dissuade some of those calling combos that they would have comfortably. And I think that Jack-9 is a relatively nice spot to just be folding. And yeah, we're not going to call off 20 bucks here. I mean, the jig is up. Definitely leading on this board texture, but I think our lead size is not all that great with our Jack-9. We have 2 pair, and it's relatively vulnerable on a board texture where we can be outdrawn easily. So I would much rather lead here for a pot-sized bet, or, I'm not even out of the ballpark range for an overbet on this board texture just because of the frequency at which they can call. And I think we can just go ahead and call here, even though we're going to be behind quite a bit with our Jack-9. Your opponent is not often going to have a hand that dominates us as far as our boats go. They can have any Queen X combo, so if we hit a boat against that, that's good. They can still bluff there some frequency with their 8X combos and their flush draw combos. So it's not the happiest, and I don't hate that you folded. Like, I'm not going to be like, man, that sucks. That's a terrible fold. I think it's reasonable, but I also think that we're going to have to bluff catch with some combos. And, if they're bluffing there, they're going to be using flush draws. And, I think that we just at least don't want to have one of those. Basically, we don't have a spade in our hand, and we want to have some equity against Queen X. And I think that our hand kind of fits that category, is that we're not blocking their flush draws, we're not blocking 8X, and that we can also make a boat against them having Queen X combos. And if they end up having something like, King Jack or King 9, then that's just kind of unlucky. But yeah, we're still going to want to defend at some frequency in those spots, even though they do have a lot of queens. And certainly if you think they're just betting a very, very queen-heavy range and checking back flush draws and not really bluffing that much and not betting 2 pair, they're very polarized between bluffs and Queen X, and they just have a very high percentage of Queen X. And clearly folding is fine from an exploitative standpoint. Going to raise it up with pocket 9s on table 2. You're going to get flat called in the small blind, and I think we can just check this back 3-way. We get called by 2 of the blinds. Pocket 9's not going to really play well on turns or rivers. And yes, it's a board texture where we can continuation bet, but we're probably not going to win all that frequently on that board against the both of the blind players. And we might win at showdown some because they can still have a 3X combo and check it down. They can also have pocket 5s through pocket 8s on this board very specifically. And on this river, going for value is not bad, but it kind of depends on how frequently your opponent is going to end up calling you with a slightly better hand. And if you think that he would have bet most of his 10s on the river, and when he checks, the problem is that he might still have a couple of King X combos just because of the pairing of the 10 on the river. But yeah, it's okay to go for a small value bet there. I mean, I don't hate it. I wouldn't say it's super greedy or anything like that. I'd just say it kind of sucks and we just run into random, King X combos, which will definitely be in their range at some frequency. But if we can expand their range with a small bet to calling with a bunch of other pocket pairs and ace highs and whatnot, then I think it's pretty reasonable. We're going to 3-bet with King 7 offsuit. I just kind of don't like the hand selection. This hand is high card value, and I don't mind calling in position. We're certainly not going to be folding, but I'd kind of put that more in the calling range than the 3-betting range. Now, this ace-jack on table 2, we're definitely going to be 3-betting. Same thing over here with our kings on table 4, but I kind of make that a little bit bigger, make it maybe 170, something like that. Pocket 8s, we're going to raise it up from the small blind. Pretty good board texture on table 4 for us to c-bet, so we're going to make it the old funky-ass $2, which perfectly fine. Then we can end up shoving this on the turn with our pocket kings, provided that it's not an ace. And things kind of get dicey. No, we'll take that one down. Can't do much with our pocket 8s here, so we'll get out of the way. We have King Jack on table 2. We're going to be raising that on the button. And we're going to be folding. Well, oh, my bad. I thought we had Queen 10. We have pocket 10s. Yeah, we're definitely going to be calling with pocket 10s. There's no way we can really fold here. If he's got quads, he's got quads, but he shouldn't have queens through aces. And he can value bet pocket pairs that are worse than ours. There is no way that we're really raising that river, but it's always going to be a call when we're ahead of hands they can value bet. Because if they have a jack, they have a jack. I mean, if we raise there, it's really only going to be a spot where they're going to call us with a jack, and they can value bet all kinds of other shit. So if we don't have to necessarily have obviously we don't have to have just quads to raise there. We might end up playing, I don't think we're ever going to end up playing queens like that, or kings, but maybe we have aces like that some small percent of the time. I just don't think we really have a raised range on that river besides a jack and maybe a few bluffs that are blocking their jack, since they're capable of having a lot of pocket pairs in that spot. So if the more pocket pairs they can bet fold, the more we can throw a few bluffs in that scenario. But again, the bluffs that we're going to have are probably going to be Broadway card-oriented bluffs. So it's not really going to come up the way that hand played out that frequently, because we're not going to get to the river with that many of those combos. We're just going to have like ace, X perhaps, ace 10, ace queen, anything that's blocking a jack, because they will have a good bit of jacks. I mean, people look at a board texture like that and they're like, well, you don't have a jack that often. But if they're the big blind specifically, the big blind's got a lot of jacks when there's 3 jacks on the board, because they can have 4 for every single kicker. So if they have ace jack, it's 1 jack in the deck, 4 aces, it's going to be 4 combos. And if they have king jack, same thing, 8 combos. So if you start adding up all the suited combos, one each for those, and then you add up all the offsuit combos, there's a lot of combinations of jack X in the deck that they can have. So even though it's not likely that somebody has quads all that much, depending on their position in the pre-flop action, they could have a lot of them. We got pocket 9s here. We're getting let into on the turn. We'll just go ahead and call. Probably not a ton of bluffs for our opponent on this river. Hopefully they just check on table 2. We get to show our 9s down. Versus a bet on this river, I'd probably just get out of the way. And once he checks, we don't necessarily get a lot of value from much. I mean, he might even, maybe he checks a jack on the river. Maybe he bets a jack. I think he might end up having a mixed strategy, or our opponents on average will have a mixed strategy. And they might not really be checking with flushes. So there's definitely a world where we can go for value on that river. But in general, just seeing a showdown, maybe picking up some information on how our opponent plays is going to be okay for us. Let's see what we got coming up next. We got table 2 is going to be a fold with 2-3 offsuit. We have queen king. We're going to raise that up. And again, we've seen this a few times, but I do like re-raising bigger, especially out of position here. So that's the only thing that I would say that kind of sticks out at this point in time, is just raise size when you're 3-betting pre-flop. Ace 4 offsuit, we will raise on the button if it folds to us down on table 4. We are going to fold king 9 on table 1. Looks like we have a pair of jacks. And like I said, we could flat here, but 3-betting is perfectly reasonable as well, given that we are 5-handed. And when they shove, we're not really going to be folding jacks. You can assume that they have queens, kings, and aces some small percentage of the time for this sizing as well. But pocket jack's just going to be too strong when they just shovel it in. And if you don't know much about the players in the games, just better off calling. And if they got queens, kings, or aces, hats off to you. You're going to get me for a stack. We've bet with our ace of hearts and a 4, which is a good play. Like that one. Yeah, the site looks kind of snappy. I'm probably gonna check this site out myself, see what's going on. You know, if they got a delicious rakeback deal, they have a good sign-up bonus. You get $10 in free cash just for verifying your account. You know, if the games are good, which they seem like they are, seems like there's a decent bit of action here, then maybe check out that link in the description below. Any other questions or information you're looking for, check out the link to the forum post and get that information there. Queen 6 offsuit is going to be a folding combination on table 1. Queen 9 offsuit, we will be playing some percentage of the time on table 2. So, we definitely should have raised it. Maybe because the players monkeying around with options and whatnot, but we definitely would just raise that the hell up. I like this. I like the table options. This is nice. This is kind of slick. It looks like they have Bitcoin as well, so that you can use Bitcoin to move money around. Could be pretty sweet. Looks like that was the end of the video, guys. Looks like that was the end of the video. We are back now with our Jack Deuce of Clubs combo. So yeah, this looks like a pretty sweet site. If you guys want to check this out, I would say jump on in there. Ultima Poker. There's a link in the description. Looks like we're going to get good games out of it. Looks like there's a good bit of traffic. Good rakeback structure. $10 free cash just for verifying your account. So hopefully you guys have a good time playing on this site. Check all that shit out, and I will see you guys next time I make a video. What are these little icons and whatnot as well? It looks like they have avatars, but it also looks like they have, like, maybe if you get your rakeback tier or whatever, because the player that we're watching, John 180, has the little gold guy. So that's pretty sweet. Either way, thanks guys. Ming the Merciless 93. I'll catch you guys on the flip side.